recording, and we are recording. So Jay and class, welcome to week 2 of DES 114. What I want to do from the beginning tonight is I want to talk a little bit about your assignment and your assessment. Have you looked at any of these yet, Jay? Have you taken a look at what you're asked to do?
No, not this week's.
Okay, so I'm going to go over with you right now and explain it to you. And then what my course will be, or my class will be tonight, is me actually doing some demonstrations of how to go about doing this. So when you go out to do this, you don't have to guess about any of it, or you won't have to guess about the technical part of it. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of creative stuff because that's not what this course is really about. This course is more about the techniques involved in creating print-ready files. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. The creative stuff you apply when you design the pieces, and of course I want you to use good creative thinking when you do it. I'm sure you've had courses before my course that talk to you about creativity and how to approach it. So I'm going to let you handle that. But if you take a look at this, notice that I've made a highlight here. When finished, you have a print-ready file. That's a key to what's going on here. There's a certain way that I'm going to expect you to submit your file to me. And I can tell you flat out, I've taught this course many times. I really like this course, and I teach it frequently, which is good because I really enjoy teaching it. And I think I'm pretty good at it because I enjoy it, and because I've done it so many times, I usually have a pretty good method of getting through it. But I can't tell you the number of times people will not look at my recorded session and come in and submit incorrectly done files. Because if you read my assignment instructions here, okay, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'm just going to tell you that every single step of how you go about doing this is not laid out in this assignment instruction. This is a high-level overview of what you're doing. The class and my lesson is where you're going to find the information that you need to actually do this. I'm teaching you this stuff, not this little assignment, couple of paragraphs of information. I am teaching this. So you get this information from me, not from this little assignment thing. They give you the they give you an overview of what you're expected to do here, and some information and some stuff that you work with. Like, for instance, there's your logo. You can download your logo. It tells you it's got to be a 3-color card, black with 2 Pantone colors. And you read the whole thing, and you'll see it gives you instructions as to how the size is set up. But it doesn't tell you anywhere in here how to actually create a print-ready file the proper way, either in InDesign or in Illustrator. So guess who has to do that? Me.
Right.
Right. So that's why it's very important that you all understand that either come into the session like Jay did, or watch the session, because if you don't watch the session, I guarantee you're not going to actually know how to go about doing this. Okay? So again, I'm expecting you, oh, and this is one thing I want to say here. This project will be graded very strictly based on how well you follow directions. So here's the dilemma for you. Number one, there are some directions that are in this assignment right here in front of you, in the assignments listed in your site. Yes, but there's also instructions that will be handed over to you by me in my recorded session tonight. And all of those directions count. So if you don't come in and watch my recorded session, I'm going to know it. I'm going to know it because I'm going to see you submit something to me that is not a finished print-ready file. That's the dilemma. I mean, I can immediately tell when people have not watched my recorded session because they'll come in with a file that is not print-ready. And the only way they're going to get that information is from me tonight here. Okay? So you don't have that problem, Jay, because you're here, but you understand the situation. What I'm saying to you is that this assignment instructions that you get here will not be complete. They should not be considered complete. You're going to work with me tonight, and I'm going to give you some additional instructions, some additional training. I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach. That's the whole thing. And I have some very specific things that I want to teach you. So that's really where we are with this. Okay, are we cool?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go back to assignments. We'll go up to assessments, and I'll just very quickly talk about that because it's kind of, all right, assessment 2, let's see, here we go. Okay, assessment 2 is essentially the next step, the next logical step in the development of this package for this company, all right, Aqua Excursions. You're building in your assignment a business card. For your assessment, you're going to add to that a letterhead and an envelope design. Again, what you have to understand is that we're looking for you to produce a print-ready document. And I am going to show you exactly how to do that tonight. That's my job. My job here is essentially to teach you how to create a print-ready document. Do you think you know how to do that now, Jay?
I wouldn't feel comfortable at this point, no.
Okay, so what I'm going to do at the end of the night is I'm going to have you tell me if after showing you what I do, you already knew it. I'd be interested in hearing whether you knew this after I show you what I do.
Okay.
Okay, so that's essentially it. You're going to be, now they're telling you here that you're using this in InDesign only. So here's the dilemma too. I think if we go back, this is telling you letterhead is to be made using InDesign only, and letterhead must include envelope design in InDesign only. Now let's go back to assignments because I think there's a bug here. I think they're telling you that you could do the business card in Illustrator or InDesign. Now I could be wrong, but let me just go back and let me just take a quick look, make sure that I'm right here. This is assignment 2, design a print card. There we go. Let's see what it says because I could have sworn they said either Illustrator or InDesign. Maybe I'm mistaken. What does it say here? Oh yeah, see, here's the problem. Look, it says design front and back using InDesign or Illustrator only. Well, you know what? If they're going to tell you, and this is something that I'm going to tell you flat out, if they're telling you that you can design the business card in InDesign or Illustrator only, then I am going to tell you here and now, and this is part of the instruction, that you can in fact design all 3 elements in either Illustrator or InDesign. Because it doesn't make sense to create one in Illustrator and then the other 2 in InDesign. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. So personally, I am telling you, InDesign or Illustrator, you choose. Are you comfortable with either one of those, Jay?
I really love Illustrator. InDesign, I'm comfortable with it, but I love Illustrator a lot more.
Okay, here's the thing. I have no problem with you doing it in Illustrator. I do want to caution you, though. There's going to come a point as a graphic designer when you're not going to be allowed the leeway to use Illustrator for something like this, because InDesign is really a layout program, and that is the correct program to use.
Yes, I'm actually creating invitations for the local high school here right now, and unfortunately, I have to use InDesign. Yes.
Yeah, and that's what a good designer would use. So, but again, we're in a school, and you know what? I'm just as concerned about your being able to handle the intricacies of InDesign and Illustrator. So, if you show me that you're capable of handling what it is required of you to do in Illustrator, I'll be happy. And guess what? Next week, we're going to be working on a project, and you will have the opportunity to show me that you know what you're doing in Adobe InDesign. So one way or the other, I'm going to cover you. Believe me. So again, everybody is free to choose either InDesign or Illustrator for these projects, the assignment, the assessment. You've heard me say it, okay?
Yep.
All right. So is there any questions about your assessment and your assignment at this point? Again, I'm going to demonstrate them tonight for you. You good with this, Jay?
Yes, I actually wanted to comment. You said you noticed that there was a bug, like you said, the InDesign.
Not a bug, but it's just that there's an inconsistency in what they're telling you to do.
I noticed that last week as well, and I wanted to bring it to your attention, but I was going to wait till after everything.
Yeah, it's kind of my fault. I should have noticed it sooner, and I could have corrected. I'm going to be careful to take a look a little more carefully. See, I did go in and I did make a few minor adjustments to these things so that I gave you some points that you could look at, but I missed that, and I should have noticed that. So it's kind of my fault. I take responsibility for that.
Yeah, I mean,
you're hearing me say it now.
Yeah, the instructions are, the verbal instructions helped me with that. Last week, I was here last week as well, but I believe it was which one was it? It was let me go back to it. I kept it open so I could, it's the assessment. It said on there to us a total of 3 pages instead of 3 artboards.
Yeah.
And that, so.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I always prefer is that you use the artboards in Adobe Illustrator, because obviously the Illustrator artboards are the equivalent of InDesign pages. So again, what I'm really concerned about is that you're showing me that you have competency working in these programs, and these are the things that I'm looking for you to do to show me competency. I don't expect you to be as good as me yet. You will get there. But I expect you to show me that you have some control over your environment. You have some knowledge of what you're doing in that environment. That's what I'm really looking for. And again, I'm an easy guy. I'm the type that I want to see everybody pass, but I want to see everybody pass with at least the understanding of the things that we cover in our courses or in our weeks. That's what's really critical to me. Okay? All right. Now, so any other questions? You good?
Yep, good.
All right. I have a question for you. I'm going to open a document here. Did you see this document? I put this in announcements. Did you see this document yet? It's a document called CMYK versus RGB and spot color DOCX. By any chance, did you see that yet?
I have not looked at my announcements today.
Okay.
So, no.
All right. So here's the deal.
It is there, though. I just checked. It is there.
Okay. Here's the deal. Both of these little videos come from lynda.com. Now, I'm a lynda.com subscriber. I copied and pasted the link to these two videos into here. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure whether you're going to be able to view them or not. I hope that you're going to be able to view them because I think they're worth looking at for this week and for next week. So I basically sent them along to you in the hopes that they will work. What I'm thinking I might do, they're not very long, they're like 8 minutes each. I think what we're going to do tonight is just to cover my own bases here. I think I'm going to actually run these two small videos for you, and I'll let you watch them here. And then you can ask me questions about it before I actually begin my lesson. Is that okay? Do you have a problem with that?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I was hoping somebody else would be here or somebody. I asked everybody to email me to check these out and email me, and nobody did. So I don't know whether you're able to get them or not. All right, let me just do this then. Let me come in and let me launch the first one. The first one is about RGB versus CMYK. We are really not going to be getting into RGB very much, but just so that you understand, and I would imagine you probably do, you can tell me if you do or don't, but RGB is a color mode, and RGB is the color mode that we would be using if we were creating artworks for the internet. You know that?
Yes.
Okay, CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That is the color mode that we use if we are going to be doing 4-color process printing. So this first, and the reason I'm showing you this now is because we're going to be working next week, and I could probably wait till next week on that one, actually. The one that I'm really concerned about here, and now that I think about it, I think I might wait with the first one till next week, but this one here, creating spot colors, because tonight we are going to actually be creating spot colors. So I thought, you know, it would be a good idea to show you this, and then we could actually go in and try it ourselves. And between the two things together, you should have a pretty solid idea of how to create spot colors. Very important that you know how to do that, especially if you're going to be working on projects like business cards that will require spot color arrangements as opposed to 4-color process. Although there are many people today that produce 4-color process stationery. It's very common to do that because the cost of CMYK printing or process printing has gotten very low. But there's still an awful lot of spot color, and you need to know this. So let's run this first video, because I know I can get this video to run for us. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, here we go. Okay. I guess I got to play it. Here we go.
In many cases, when you're dealing with branding, especially logos and letterheads and things like that, you're going to run across the need to create something called a spot color swatch. This is a swatch that's used to reproduce a color exactly as it's supposed to appear each and every time. Famous brands utilize their own special swatches all the time. Stuff like Coca-Cola Red, Pepsi Blue, they're iconic colors that you instantly recognize, and they wouldn't have you use any other color but that specified color. Now I'm going to show you how to create your own spot color swatches here inside of Illustrator. It's actually really simple. Once you have your colors like you like them, in this case, I have this purple, the orange, and the gray. I'm going to add those to my swatches library, and then I'm going to turn them into spot colors. I'm going to go up to my window menu, and I'm going to bring back up my swatches panel because I temporarily closed it. Once I get the swatches panel back out on screen, I can then start adding my swatches. I'm going to go into isolation mode for a moment so I can get a hold of these individually. I'll double click, and then I'll select this gray color here. Once I have that done, I'm going to hit the new swatch button. It gives me a swatch name, and it indicates here that this is a grayscale color. I'm going to change this to a spot color. The name is indicating to me exactly what level of gray it actually is. In this case, I'm just going to call this Logo Gray, and I'll hit OK. You'll notice as soon as I do that, a new swatch is added, and also there's a small dot in the bottom right-hand corner of that white triangle. This indicates that it's a spot color because it's given it a little spot. Same holds true for this A right here. I can create a new swatch, change it from a process color to a spot color. You'll notice as soon as you change from process color to spot color, global automatically becomes checked and is grayed out so you cannot turn it off. That's because spot colors are meant to be true all the way through. You're not supposed to be able to change them independently or anything. If anything's using the spot color throughout the document, or that spot color is updated at any time, the global aspect is applied. Once I have that set, I'll name this Logo Orange, hit OK. Finally, I'll take this light purple color, create a new swatch. I'll go ahead and call it Logo Purple, and change it to a spot color. Again, global is applied, and I'll hit OK. Now, for the text at the bottom, you'll notice it's currently still using the process value for this. I need to go ahead and switch that over to this Logo Gray because this is going to be a 3-color spot logo. So everything needs to be using one of these 3 colors. Since the text is utilizing the same level of gray as this R, I can go ahead and apply the spot color right there. Remember, these are global. So at any time during the branding process, if we happen to come in and make a change to this orange color in the middle, I can just come to the spot color, double click to edit it. Let's say we needed to make it just a little bit more orange. I'll drag the magenta slider up a little bit, move this over, hit preview, and you can see that it makes that change for me. Back that down just a little and hit OK. So now, anytime I need to share my company colors with somebody, I can then just take these 3 swatches, export them, and send them to the person, and they'll have the exact same representation of my branding as I do. That's the beauty of spot colors and a great way to keep your message consistent across all printed products. When you first begin to work with color inside of Illustrator, you'll notice that Illustrator provides you with several different swatches that are already All
right, that's that. All right, so you see that wasn't too bad, right? Only very short video.
Yep.
All right, so the key to understanding that is that what he's showing you is that you take your color, you create your color, and then you turn it into a spot color. Why do we even have to bother with a spot color? I'm going to open up our project because we're going to now go on to this project. But why we even need spot color? So what's the difference between spot color and, say, CMYK color?
Right.
If you know anything about printing, you'll know that CMYK, there's 4 basic colors. And what you do is you overlap certain amounts of each of those colors. You overlap them one on top of the other to create a color. So if you were going to go with this color right here, this would be a combination in CMYK. And look up here where it says Aqua Logo Start, CMYK. So it is a CMYK color. There is a formula, and I could probably show you that formula. Let's see if I got, that's my spot version of this. So let me drag this color in here for a second. And it comes in, okay, so this is set as a spot color already. So let me do this. Let me double click on this and change this from a spot color to a process color, okay? And hit okay. And now this is a process color, all right? So if I come back in here, you'll see CMYK. See it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how this color, how you arrive at this color is by taking cyan and making 17% of that color cyan. The magenta, you're going to make 21.21%. The yellow, you're going to pump the yellow all the way up to 91.29, and there is no black. And that's what gives you that yellow color. So imagine, if you can, a screen that has 17% cyan in the shape of that aqua, and that's going to be laid down. And then the magenta 21.21, that's going to be laid down. In other words, it's a screen showing that much coverage. And then the yellow is going to be 91%. So there's an awful lot of the yellow, and then there's no black. That's essentially how that works. That's process. Now, spot color is a completely different animal. I'm going to hit cancel. Spot color is a completely different animal. What spot color means is that some mechanism like Pantone or one of the color libraries, which I'll show you where they are, one of those color libraries actually has a pre-mixed color of that yellow that you give the instructions to the printer, who then creates a plate of just that color. So here you've got this yellowy color and you've got this burgundy color. There would be two plates, one plate for the yellow and one plate for the burgundy. That's how that would be done. So they're completely different color processes. And what happens is, if you have a 4-color process printing job, and you bring a logo in, that's a spot color. Say if we brought that logo in as a spot color, what the printer would have to do is he would actually have to run that job as a 6-color job. Do you know why?
No.
Because 4-color process printing for the rest of the work that's on that job, and because this is a spot color job, or this is a spot color logo, that logo would have to be on its own 2 plates for the 2 colors. You can't, if it's a spot color, it can't be converted unless we actually physically convert it to CMYK, which we did here. We did it right here. But that color right there is spot yellow. That's converted spot yellow to CMYK. Watch, here's the difference. Let me show you. Double click. What does it say there? Color type. What does it say?
Spot color. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to hit cancel and double click on this. What does that say?
Process color.
There you go. Now, if I want to turn this into a spot color, I just click on this and I change it, and now it's registering as a spot color. Pay attention to what's happening over here, and I click on OK, and it's a spot color. It's just that simple. I mean, this is, I want you to understand that it's very simple. There's a couple of things, though, before we actually get into this and we talk about this a little bit more completely. There's a couple of things, though, that I would like to talk about. If you take a look at the general lay of the land here, notice my swatches panel. One of the things that I really don't like is when people leave their swatches panel looking like this. When I'm working on a logo, if somebody gives me a logo like this, how many colors are being used in there? You tell me.
Well, since you're using spot color, yeah, just the 2.
Exactly. So if this is a logo, and I know down the road nobody's going to change these colors because they're corporate colors, and we've decided those are the colors, why would I want all this other stuff in here?
Just to be distracting.
Exactly. And the key to what you just said is a distraction. It is a distraction. So there's 2 things we could do. If I wanted to keep those colors, which I generally do not, I could always come down here and create a folder and stuff all those colors in a folder and call them something like, oh, I don't know, call them default colors. But generally, I just don't even keep them. I throw them away. Do you know why? Because every time I come into the file menu and create a new file, and I'm not even going to play around with all this, I'm just going to throw a file up there so you could see something. I'm going to hit OK. Take a look at my swatches panel.
Yeah, they're back.
They're back. So in other words, all I have to do, if I, for some reason or other, need to get those colors back, all I have to do is open up a new file and all those colors come back. They're nothing but the default colors. And what I'm saying is, I really, in a situation like this, and as a matter of fact, I do this a lot. I mean, whenever I'm working on something, I do this an awful lot because I generally am working on something and I usually have colors in mind, or I have to create certain colors. And again, this is a distraction. So I don't want to be distracted, and I want to look professional. So what I would do, this is a swatches panel. And this is the swatches panel drop-down menu. I would come over here and I would select all unused, see? And you see how all of them get selected here?
Yep.
All right. And then I just hit the garbage can. Delete them? Yes. And they basically all go away, except this one seems to be persistent for some reason. Not a problem. I just click on it and hit the garbage can on it again, and it's now gone. What does that leave me with? that leaves me with my 2 spot colors, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the file that you're getting doesn't even have those colors in there, all right? So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking those colors and you're going to be clicking and you're going to be dragging, or you're going to be creating a new color, either by coming here and creating a new color, or come up here and creating a new color, or click on this, click, hold, and drag it into the swatches panel to create a new color. That's pretty clear, right?
Yep.
Do you have to actually see me do it, or are you okay with that?
No, you actually showed us that last week.
Okay. Now, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is that when these colors originally come to you, they are not spot colors. I've made them into spot colors. So what happens is you're going to find that these colors are going to be process colors. And in order to turn them into a spot color, you're going to just double click on this. And what's going to happen is you're going to open up the swatch options dialog box. And I did call this spot yellow. It probably would be better to call it logo yellow. So I will change that, logo yellow. Okay, and it's going to be a spot color. It probably will originally look like this, I think, if I remember correctly. And you're going to change that to spot color. Now, what the guy told you about global, this is something that's very important. That's an interesting thing for him to tell you. But if you're working on a branding element, which is what he was talking about, when you're working on a branding element, branding elements require the use of very specific colors that are corporate colors, that are the corporations spend a lot of money on people who design these logos and their colors. And they don't like you messing with the colors, and they don't like you changing the colors. So the truth is, you're probably not going to be changing colors on a branding logo like this. You just are not. So to know how to do that is cool, but you also have to realize where you are and what you're doing. And if you're working on a branding element, a logo like this, you have to have respect for the customer and the customer's logo and the customer's colors. So you don't want to just arbitrarily go changing colors. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is now changed to a spot color CMYK. We hit OK. This one here, you'll do the same thing. You just double click on it, make sure it's changed to spot. And actually, when I did that, because I had to select it, it threw that color in there. And you can just fix that by clicking that. No big deal. I should really deselect this when I do all that. So now this logo is ready for our project, which is the Aqua Card. Okay. Now, one of the things that I said to you I would do, 2 things actually. One of the things that I said that I would do is show you where the color books are. And the other thing that I said in the assignment is that if you wanted to, you could go in and you could select your own color to use with this. So what I want to do is I want to show you where the color books are, and I want to talk about the color books just a little bit. And I want to show you how easy it is to go in and pick a Pantone color of your own choosing, so that if you decide you want to do this, and actually I think I would like you to do this, because that would show me that you've actually watched the video, and it shows me that you're experimental, which is what I'm looking for. So I'm not going to mandate that you do it, but I think it would be a very good thing to do, because it would show that you've actually watched this video and you understand the process. All right? Mm-hmm. So I'm leaving it up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the window menu, and I'm going to come down to where it says Swatch Libraries. See it?
Yep. Okay.
And then I'm going to carefully come over to where it says Color Books. Look at all the color books. There are a ton of color books. And to be truthful with you, I don't have enough time to go through all of them, but I'm going to tell you very quickly that the ones that are most common for us will probably be the Pantone books. And the one that's probably the best usage for us would be Pantone plus CMYK. Do you know why? There's 2 of them, Pantone plus CMYK coded and Pantone plus CMYK uncoded. I'll tell you about both of those in a minute. But the reason that these are the most valuable is because they give you colors that are not only Pantone capable, but they're also CMYK capable. So you probably have the easiest time with these because they match both. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, coded and uncoded, what does that mean? Because you'll notice they're all coded or uncoded. Coded, coded, uncoded, coded. See how they're all coded or uncoded?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's two basic types of paper. There's coated paper, coated stocks, which has some kind of a varnish applied to it, plastic laminate, something. A plastic, I shouldn't say plastic laminate, but a plastic coating or varnish coating. And then there are uncoated stocks, which are kind of like hot press or cold press. They got a softer, uncoated texture. And you would really want to use a coated ink on a coated stock, and you would want an uncoated ink for an uncoated stock. How do you determine which one you're using? You talk to your printer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So for my little demonstration here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on CMYK coated, because I think probably you're going to find that the coated stock for business cards are the most common. Okay?
Okay.
So let's take a look at Pantone plus CMYK coated and see what this book looks like. Here's the book, and you can see in here that there are literally several thousand colors in here.
Yeah.
Okay, and each one of these colors is a unique look. There's Pantone P99 6C. There's Pantone P99 8C. Each one of them P99 3C. They're all Pantone colors, which means that they are solid colors that get printed on their own plate. So if you were going to do this Aqua logo, you would probably come up with a dark blue and a light blue to contrast. So to get these colors, let's say I wanted to use Pantone P100 16C for my dark color. All I have to do is click on it, and you see how it added it in here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, take a quick look at the corner and tell me what you see.
Well, right now it's not a spot color.
What kind of a color do you think it is?
It's the I can't remember the other term.
CMYK.
Right. Well, I mean,
Process.
Yeah, process.
Right.
That's
Well, remember, look right here, and you can see it, Pantone plus CMYK. So
right.
Here you're looking at a spot color or a Pantone color, which means that it's going to be printed on its own unique plate. How do you think that one gets printed? Do you remember?
Oh, that one gets,
right now, the way it is, how would it get printed? How do you think it would get printed?
Right, that one gets printed with the percentages of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black.
Absolutely correct. Great. You're with me. You're right there. Very good. I'm very impressed. So now what I'm going to do is I got my color for my dark. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to see if I can find something I like for the light. You know what? That actually looks pretty nice to me. Pantone 10414C. I click on that. So now I have my two, these are my two CMYK versions of this color. So are you good with this? You understand how easy it is to get this?
Yes.
You remember where to go to get it?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this up for now, move it out of the way because we're really done with it. But in this particular project, if I had decided that I was going to go with those two colors instead of these two colors, which you can do or you don't have to do, totally up to you. It's just an option. We're learning things. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to, nothing selected. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to double click. And I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to change that to spot color. And we're going to call this, instead of the Pantone color here, I mean, you could leave it as Pantone P100 16C, okay? Or you could go logo, L-O-G-O, and D-A-R-K, logo dark, because that's the dark blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now what do you see happen there?
Now it's a spot color.
There you go. That's absolutely correct. Thank you. And this was going to be logo, L-O-G-O, and this is going to be L-I-G-H-T. And hit OK. And then if I wanted, oops, you know what? I made a mistake. I forgot to change it. There, spot color, and hit OK. There we go. So now I have 4 spot colors. This week is our Pantone logo, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. Well, actually, you know what? Just so that you see me do it, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to apply the light blue, because that's where I think the light blue belongs. And I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to apply the light blue, because that's where I think the light blue belongs. Here, click on that, and we're going to click on that and make that the dark blue. So if you were going to come in and you were going to create this logo in 2 different blues, this is perhaps what you might do, something along the lines of this. And just so that you know, if you look at this and you say to yourself, I'm not really crazy about that blue, you can select that blue, come up here and double click on this. And because this is global, remember what they said, you can come in here and you can play around with this and you could see if you could come up with a lighter color. Let's see if I can come up with something a little bit lighter here. That's a little bit lighter, and hit OK. It actually hit preview. And you see how that globally changed that color? Hit OK. And there I have a color that has been globally changed, and it's still registering as a spot color, logo light, and a spot color logo black. Correct? For
Yes.
in this project tonight. Now, was there anything difficult about that?
Not at all.
No. And this is all there is to it. This is why this course is so easy, because the basic things, if you see somebody do it and you understand why you're doing it, you have no trouble with it. So there's two things that I'm going to do to finish this project. Number one, look at your overall composition here and notice that there's an awful lot of white space around this logo.
Yes.
You see it?
Yes.
You see what I'm talking about? All the space up here, the space down here, the space over here and over here. A lot of space. We don't need that space. I deliberately left it this way because I wanted to show you the easy way to go in and fix this. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab the Artboard panel and bring the Artboard panel out over to here, right in the middle. And this is the only Artboard I have was for the logo. I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on the drop-down menu. And you see where it says Artboard Options?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to click on Artboard Options. And that comes up. What my goal here is, if you take a look, you see how this has got the dancing ants and it's got the little graphic symbol showing you where you can adjust the size of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what my goal is. My goal is to set this artboard so that it is the exact same size as the art that's on it. And that's going to clean up that logo, and that's going to make that logo a lot more organized and professional. To do that, I'm simply going to come to the presets, and you see where it says Fit the Artwork Bounds?
Mm-hmm.
Click on that, and automatically it brings it right down to the size of the artboard and no more. I'm going to have to come up here to hit OK, and that's that. Easy, right?
Yes.
Okay, but can you see why I did it? I've actually cut away any and all unnecessary wasted space, making this a nice, tight, clean little graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to export this file, all right? And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to export this in the two file formats that you probably will be using to create this project if you are going to do it in InDesign. You can do the same thing with the files that I'm going to create in Illustrator, but in Illustrator, since you're working in Illustrator, it's all Illustrator, and you can just copy and paste this into the new document and you're good to go that way. But if you go into InDesign, I'm going to want you to actually do these two little steps. And it's also something that you really need to learn about, how to create the correct file format to use in a program. Now remember, this is a piece of vector art, so you want something that's kind of heading in a vector path, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there's two. The first one, I go to the File menu, and I'm going to come down and save a copy, I believe. Yeah, click on this, and oops, actually what I want to do is I want to go to my desktop and see if I can put a new folder there. New folder, and I'm just going to call this Tonight. T-O-N-I-G-H-T. Call it Tonight so that I know what it is. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to change this to Aqua Logo, and then underscore F-I-N-A-L, final. And save as type. So it's in a folder, right? You saw how I created that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to change the name, Aqua Logo Final, change the file format. And what I'm looking for here is Illustrator EPS. EPS means Encapsulated Postscript File. This is a file that is very, InDesign is very happy to get. It deals with this file extremely well. So it's one of the ones that I want to show you how to create. Very simple to do. And you just need to know when you're working with vector art like this, which are the ones that are probably best for you, the EPS and the PDF. So this is the EPS. We're going to do that first. So it's Illustrator EPS. Click on that. And you see it changes it now. And it also shows you this is no longer the AI. This becomes the EPS. Got it?
Right.
Okay. And it's in that folder. Hit Save. And Illustrator, now here's the thing. If you're being asked for a different version, like say, for instance, your printer is working with CS5, and hard to believe, but I actually had a printer a couple of months back tell me that he was still working in CS5, and he asked me if I would back the file back to CS5 for him, and I had to do that. Maybe some of them are still on CS6. We're on CC. I assume you are too, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So we can leave it alone. We'll leave it alone for here. there are different preview modes here. None, obviously we don't want that. TIFF is black and white, and we don't want that because we're working with color. So the default, which is TIFF 8-bit color, you're going to leave alone. Now the other two settings here are transparency and opacity. The deal with this is, if I were to click on opaque, what you would see is that white background that you see there.
Mm-hmm.
See where the artwork is on a white background?
Yes.
Yeah, if I hit opaque, that's going to stay white. If I hit transparent, what's going to happen is, actually this is set to transparent, which is the default. It's going to be transparent when it exports. That means that I could put something behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so more than likely you're going to want this to be transparent. So we're going to leave it set to transparent. Okay?
Okay.
Now the stuff down here is kind of like either or. Like for instance, see where it says embed fonts for other applications?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I don't really need that for this logo. I'll tell you why. This particular logo, let me move this over. This particular logo is no longer active type. It's actually outlined type. In other words, the command to up in the type menu, create outlines, you familiar with that?
Actually, no.
Okay, well, I'll show you that in a minute. But at any rate, there are two different ways type can be. Type can either be active live type, or it can be outline type. Once you create outline type, what it really does is it turns the type elements into vector shapes. That's really all it is. It's no longer type. You can't go in and change the font size. You can't change the font weight. You can't change the font face. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's basically graphic shapes. And I'll show you how to do that. This has been done already. So to embed fonts here, you don't really need that. So you can deselect it. Include document thumbnails. I'd leave that. Include CMYK PostScript and RGB files. We don't really need that because we're not working with either. So I can even get rid of that if I want. And again, compatible gradient mesh. There's no gradient mesh and all that stuff in here, so we don't have to worry about any of this. As far as the PostScript level, the only way you would change that is if you're instructed by your printer to change it. Basically, you'd leave it the way it is. So really what you're concerned about is the version, and the version should be left alone unless you're told specifically by a printer. And it's usually a good idea to have a conversation with the printer to find out a little bit about them when you do these things, so you don't run into trouble in the future when you're doing your project, right?
Right.
Okay. And of course, preview format is 8-bit color and transparent. You understand, will give me a transparent background. All right? So I hit OK. And there it's writing it. And now, in a minute, I actually think what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll create the PDF. And then we'll go and we'll take a look at the two that I created. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go back, go Say to Copy. And this one is going to be, again, Aqua Logo _ Final, right?
Right.
Final. And this is going to be in Desktop. And let me find Tonight. There it is. Double click. Aqua Logo Final. And this format is going to be PDF. Portable document file. Hit Save. And now the PDF comes up. So there's two different PDF settings in here with marks and bleeds and without. I'm not going to talk about marks and bleeds in this one because you're not going to use them in this one. Again, you have presets up here. Illustrator default, high quality print, smallest print size, and press quality. What are the difference between those two? The smallest file size is usually what you would use if you're going to put this online. You want it to be a small file size so that it doesn't download doesn't take quite as long to download. It's a smaller file size. That's really the only thing with that one. There's two others though. High quality print. Do you see it at the top of the list there?
Yep.
And the one that I'm sitting over, which is press quality. So the difference between the two is high quality print essentially is where you are going to be outputting this to some sort of a device like a printer. A printer that you have in your home or in your studio, or if you go to a Staples or a Kinko's. Are you familiar with Staples, Kinko's? You know what they are?
Yes. Like I said, I'm dealing with the high school, and I've got to go to one of them.
Okay, and you know that they have high-speed color copiers.
Yes.
Okay, so high-quality print is the setting that would be correct for you if you were going to be using this on that kind of an output. Press quality is the highest level of quality, and that is what you would be using if you would be printing this thing from a printer. An actual printer is going to print this. So, you know, as far as our little demonstration is concerned, Illustrator default is good, but press quality would probably be where you would want to go. So it's going to be acceptable if you do Illustrator default, okay? I just wanted to let you know what they are. Now, preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. Let me explain that to you real quick, because that's something you should know about. If I deselect that, what it's going to do is it's going to make it so that I personally can't open this back up in Illustrator. So if I do this, watch, if I click that off, what's going to happen now is this file is going to be saved in such a way that I open it up in Illustrator, I can't select the elements and edit it. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, maybe I want to do it because I don't want the person I'm sending it to have access to it in a way that would enable them to edit it. That's really the only reason. Right. Now, if it's a trusted person, or if it's somebody that you're working with, or if you don't care one way or the other, then you just leave this to preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. And what that means is I now can go back and open this up in Illustrator, and it'll look just like a .ai file, and it'll behave just like a .ai file. So that's really what that means. And that's the one, I think, out of all of them that is most important for you. The others are just basically some things that you don't worry about. It doesn't really have not much to do with you. Those are the three that are most important. And up here are the standards and the compatibility. I mean, again, you know what the compatibility is. We talked a little bit about that. There are different Acrobat versions, and if you're getting a version, if you're being told that they don't have the capability to see Acrobat 6, if they're 4 or 5, they might want you to put that in. You don't bother with this unless you're told. Standard, there's different standards here. You don't mess with this either unless your printer specifically asks for one of those standards. So you're just going to basically ignore that unless you have some kind of instructions. Okay, you could even save this if you want. All right, I don't do any saving like that. It's not that much work for me to go in and do these things one at a time, so I don't bother with it. Now, the important thing for you to understand is that this is part of the production process. This is one type of PDF. I'm going to show you the final PDF, which is what goes to the printer. This PDF will be used inside of another piece of art. So in other words, when I go to make my business card, my letterhead, and my envelope, this piece of art, this logo that I'm creating, this file was what I'm going to use in it. When I go to create my final PDF for the printer, there's going to be printer's marks right there, marks and bleeds. That's the other kind of PDF that you're going to create. I'm going to show you that a little later on. But there's two, and you got to remember, when you're working on a piece of art, that's going to be used in another file, in another part of a project. You don't want marks and bleeds. You just basically want this kind of information here. And more than likely, if it's serious, if it's going to be going to a printer, what you're going to be choosing is probably this guy right there, press quality. Okay? We good? Any questions?
No.
Oh, hi. I guess, is it Scott?
Yeah.
Hi, Scott. How you doing? When did you come in? I didn't see you come in. You should have said hello.
Just now. I couldn't figure out how to get your class going here. I've spent like the last 20, 30 minutes.
Oh, I'm real sorry. Well, at least you managed to get in. How'd you get in? What happened?
That's PMI number.
Oh.
I don't know what that means.
No, I did not. I thought I gave you the PMI last week, didn't I?
Right, but I didn't know that PMI meant Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll try to be more specific in the future when I enter that. I thought
PMI stand for.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to keep going. You can watch the beginning of this. I think, Jay, do you think I did a pretty good job explaining so far?
So far, so good.
Okay. Do you think you'll have too much trouble following what we covered so far?
No, pretty simple.
Okay. All right. So Jay is.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
What does PMI stand for?
Personal meeting, PMI, personal meeting identity, or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Personal. That's a personal meeting ID.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frustrating. I was putting in your telephone number.
Oh, that's wrong. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save this as a PDF, right? You good with me, Jay?
Yep.
All right. Save as a PDF. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drop this thing down and I'm going to look for, I can't get at it. Okay. I'm going to look for my tonight. Where's tonight? Here it is. Here's tonight. So here's what we got. Look, tonight in here we have the Aqua logo final EPS. Remember that one, Jay?
Yes.
Aqua Logo Final PDF. Either one of those two files can be used in either the Illustrator project that you're working on or in InDesign if you choose to do your project in InDesign. So now, so that next week I can use this same file that I'm working on, I'm going to go back to Illustrator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to find Tonight, double click on it, and this is my Aqua Logo. I'm going to call this Aqua Logo Color. C-O-L-O-R. Aqua Logo Color. So here's what's going to happen, guys. Next week when you come in, I'm going to do a demonstration, which I kind of did tonight anyway. I'm going to again come in and just go through it again, how to convert this to CMYK, because next week we're going to work on a trifold brochure, and that trifold brochure is going to require us to do a logo in 4-color process. And you must do this correct, or you're going to cost yourself a lot of money, and you're actually not going. Here's the thing. When I give you these assignments and when you submit them to me, if a printer can't use it, unfortunately, you fail.
Right.
Do you know why you fail? Not because I'm a mean guy, but because if you submit something to a printer and he can't use it, it's no good. It's just as simple as that. I mean, he can maybe go in and fix it, but then he's going to charge you, and that's not what your customer wants, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to submit it to him correct, and then if you submit it to him correct, you pass. Why? Because the printer now is going to take it and separate it and get it ready to print the job. So if it comes to me and it's not correct, you're going to fail. It's not even a question of the way you did it. You know, I may give you some credit for doing it, and depending upon how bad it is, I may give you some credit. But the bottom line is it is a failure, and you can fix it. You'll have time to fix it. But that's the whole point. And that, if you look at the instructions, it tells you quite specifically that this is production directed. So we really got to be, I have to be really stubborn when it comes to this being done correctly. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is for next week. I'm going to save this. All right? And I'm going to go with this. Just leave this basically alone and hit, okay, wait a minute. Whoa. This is, hold on. Yeah, we're fine. Hit okay. Okay, so now if I come up here, and if I drop this down, there's my Aqua Logo Color AI. This is my Aqua Logo Final EPS, and this is my Aqua Logo Final PDF. So here's the deal. Next week when we come in here, I'm going to probably open this file up, and we'll go through the process of converting this back to CMYK, and we will then create the proper files for us to use in our trifold brochure. Okay? So you will see this again next week. Good so far?
Good so far.
Okay, so let's go back into Illustrator, and I can now come in here and I can go File, Close. Where are we at here? Close. And now that brings us to the actual project that you're going to be working on. This is the Aqua Card. And this Aqua Card is actually the way that I would produce this card in Adobe Illustrator. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to properly prepare this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing again in Adobe InDesign so that you'll see how to do it in either one of those two programs. And I honestly don't care which one. At this point, it's kind of up to you. You can decide to do whatever you want to do with it, all right? Either way is acceptable. I went through that earlier, Scott. Jay heard me say it. You'll see when you watch. So you can either do this in Illustrator or Photoshop, right? Isn't that what I said, Jay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this. Before we go any further with this particular one, let me show you how to begin the process of setting up a correct file for this card in Adobe Illustrator, okay? So I'm going to come up to the File menu, and I'm going to go New. And I'm going to call this Card. I'll just call it Card tonight, CARD_TONIGHT, Card tonight. The number of artboards, I'm only going to give it 1. I could give it 3, but I'm going to give it 1 because I want to show you how to add artboards using the Artboard panel, and we're going to work with the Artboard panel a little later on. The size is custom, but the size is not correct. So let's change the size. A business card is usually a width of 3.5 inches. and it usually has a height of 2, right? You guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the width is 3.5 and the height is 2. Oh, don't bark, dog. And okay, so now the next thing is, remember, we are talking about production. And one of the things that you need in production is you need a bleed element. Now, what is bleed? You can kind of see in the background here. If you take a look, you see that red line right there?
Yeah.
That red line indicates a bleed area. And at the very bottom, you'll see that there's a blue area that bleeds off the page. It bleeds off the page on the right-hand side, it bleeds off the page on the bottom, and it bleeds on the left. So anywhere something bleeds, here's what a bleed really means. It means that, you see that black line right there?
Yep.
Okay, so what's going to happen is, in the end, that black line represents where the piece is going to be cut out of the bigger paper. This is a bigger area. This is a bigger area of the paper. So that it's going to cut right there. So if I want this to go right to the edge here, if I make it go right to the edge and if it cuts off, it could end up with a white line there. You see my point?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so by having this bleed go 1/8 of an inch beyond that, even if it's a little sloppy and it cuts here, or if it's a little sloppy and it cuts there, which is terrible, but it usually don't. But if it does, you still have that color going right to the edge and it looks correct. So that's why you do bleeds, all right? And bleeds, so that you know, are almost always, and again, I can't say always, but almost always 0.125 of an inch. Now, what that means is 1/8 of an inch. That's essentially what 0.125 means. Now, notice that I have this little check, this little link over here checked.
Yeah.
The moment I set that 0.125 in, you see how it went all the way around? The bleed went all the way around?
Right.
Yeah, so that's what you want. So this is, and now the next thing that you want to do is come to the advanced here, and you want to make sure that you've got your color mode set up. CMYK is good, raster effects high, 300 PPI, preview mode is default. So we're good with this. We don't have to change anything, so I can bring that back. So basically, what we're really concerned about is that we're creating a card. It's going to be one artboard, 3.5 is the width and 2 is the height, and it has a bleed of 0.125 of an inch. So I'm going to hit OK, and I want you to see what happens when I hit OK. There's my card. Now watch, I'm going to flip back and forth. Do they look any different than one another? Not really.
Oh.
This is set at, this is 480%. This is 475. So that's the only difference, is that this thing is a slight bit bigger than this one. But that's only in the way it's displaying. The point I'm trying to make is, take a look at that card. Can you see the bleed? Can you see the trim line?
Yeah.
All right, here's the Aqua Card start. You see the bleed? You see the trim line? That's how we do this. All right? So basically now we have our card. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to bring your logo in. And I want to show you something over here. Watch this. I'm going to come to my new card and I want to show you what happens to my, look at my swatches. Remember, Jay, we talked about the swatches?
Yep, they're back.
What do you think I should do with those swatches, Jay?
Trash them.
Yeah, trash them. Exactly. Why though?
Distracting.
Distraction, unnecessary, something that I don't really need in the context of what I'm doing. For clarity, it's good to get rid of something like this, or at least do something like this where I create. You saw me trash them a little earlier. Let's try this a different way. Create a new color group, and I'm just going to call this saved, S-A-V-E-D, oops, S-A-V-E-D, and hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is, I guess, is that? Yeah, saved. I'm going to click and drag that into there. And I'm going to drag that into there, and drag that into there, and this into there. I think is it going in? Is that saved? Yeah. Let's see if this goes in. Can't tell whether it's going in or not. Let me just try this. Let me try shift-clicking all these guys and dragging them into there. Yeah, I think that's it. Now if I clicked on this, I should be able to close it. It's not closing. All right, so you know what? This is not working. Again, what I think you're probably right. The best thing to do with this is just select all unused. Okay, I thought they were going to go in there in such a way that would make sense, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. So I'm deleting all those guys. And I'm going to get rid of this guy right here, delete that, and delete swatch, yes. And this guy here I'm going to probably bring up, and then I'll kick that out of there. So what am I left with? Just so that you know. What I'm left with here is I'm left with my registration color. I'm left with black and none and white. Now,
so
I mean,
registration? You
registration,
mentioned that last week. You said it's a form of black, but I mean,
it's a form of black. It's a slightly different color black that is not really a printing black. It's a color that they use for the registration marks. So really, it probably will not go away. I don't think I can actually throw that away. And the other thing that you know is you got black in here. Now, black is black. So the printer doesn't have too much trouble understanding black, or no real problem with black. None is when you want to create an object and you don't want any color, so that's something that's going to stay there. White, in this particular case, we aren't really going to be using white. We're going to be using a knockout, essentially. It's going to be paper. It's going to be nothing, okay? So you don't print with white, but we are not going to use it anyway. What we're going to be using is we're going to be using the 3 colors. Now, why I'm showing you this is because I'm about to bring a logo into here. And I want to show you what happens when I bring in my, I'm going to bring in, I'll show you that I can bring in both my EPS and I'm going to bring in my PDF, okay? So I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to go to Tonight. And you see I got my final EPS. Click on that. And hit place it. See, it's actually linking. See how it's going to link it to it? Mm-hmm. See where it says link?
Yep.
Yeah, this is going to link. It's not going to actually embed it. Hit place. Okay, so there's my logo. Boom. There's my logo. Look what happens over here. This is cool. Check that out.
Right on.
So what happens now is not only does this Aqua Excursions logo come in, but it also brings in the 2 correct colors. Now, the same thing occurs in Adobe InDesign. So if I wanted to make a card using 3 colors, there's my 1 color, black, there's my 2nd color, light blue, and my dark blue, I can use those 3 colors to create my elements, and I end up with a card that will be perfectly correct for my printer. So let's do that real quickly. All right. Now I'm going to stick the logo down here. All right. Now take a look at my card. This is essentially what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something similar to that. And again, I'm not looking to create wonderful art here. I just want to give you an idea. So here I'm going to come and I'm going to get my line tool, and I'm going to come and I'm going to place a line vertically down through here. And I probably will go 0.5 because I like very fine lines on things like this. And what I'm going to do is probably move it over a little bit, something more like that. Get some nice relationships set up. Up here at the top, what did I have the name is? Richard Hyde, CEO. So let's go back into here, and I'm going to set my type, and I'm going to choose a type. So let's go in and let's find a type. Actually, Myriad Pro is the type that I want. But I think what I want here is I want Myriad Pro semi-bold or bold. Let's try bold first. And the size of this is 12 point. Let's try 10 point. See what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to go William Sweeney, W-I-L-L-I-A-M, S-W-E-E-N-E-Y, and then I'm going to hit space, and I'm going to type in C-E-O. How about that, man? I just got to increase. Now, in this case here, promotion. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this probably from bold to, let's go to regular. Let's just go to italic. There. I think that looks probably pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that and I'm going to bring it down. Because you see, the other thing too is you want to have, if you go to the view menu and you come down to rulers, show rulers. So now you got your rulers up here. And what you probably want to do is you want to probably set some kind of a margin area. What a margin area really is, it's kind of a safe area where you can place elements. See that? I don't want my elements to go any closer to the edge than that. And it's the same at the top. I want to come down about 1/4 of an inch. Let's go to about there. It's probably good right about there. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Let's come over to here and let's go right about like that. It's about 1/8 of an inch probably. Yeah, 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to come to the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Come up to about 1/8 of an inch right about there. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a few little adjustments. I'm going to tweak that up a little bit. And this guy here can actually come up a little bit. Okay? And this guy here, I probably am going to adjust this so that it hits that line as well, if I can ever do it. There we go. And this thing here is going to come up until it hits that line right there. So you see what I did was I set a bleed area here, and I've actually come in and I've created a margin area. Now, I don't want, unless something's going to bleed off the page, which I'm going to bleed something off in a second, and something bleeds off the page, fine. I want it to go all the way to here. But if the elements aren't bleeding, I don't want them to go any further than there. I don't want anything to go to that edge. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so let's bleed an element now. Let's come in here, let's get this shape here, and let's see how we bleed an element. So I'm going to come over about here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag out just a plain, ordinary rectangle. Right now, it has a stroke. I'm going to change that until I have a fill of black. I don't think I want to use that color. I think I'm probably looking for maybe that color right there as opposed to that. And that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to now walk this logo up because obviously I don't want that logo in the way of there. Now, here's the thing. I'm actually going to bring that back. And I'm going to take that and go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Now, do you see what's happening? Can you see how that word excursions is showing over top of that color in the background, that area of color?
Yes.
Well, that's what I was talking about when you create an Adobe EPS and Adobe PDF. What happens basically is by creating it with transparency, instead of getting a white background, you get transparency. So if I had decided I want the logo sitting over a color like that, which I'm not going to do, this is just so that you see how this is working and it hopefully makes sense to you. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I do think that this rectangular shape is a little bit too big, so I think what I'm going to probably do with this is bring it down to about here. That's probably pretty good. And then I'm going to move this logo up to right about there. Okay, so now you can see what I'm doing essentially is I'm putting together a layout for my business card. And to cheat, because I'm starting to run a little bit long here, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Just go Edit, Copy. And I'm just going to paste this in because I'm just getting lazy. Edit. And I think you guys know how to set type like this, right? I mean, it's not like, yeah, you guys shouldn't have any real problem with that. And then again, you just decide how you want that to be presented. I think maybe kind of centered it visually between these two. Having a little bit of a stagger there doesn't hurt for me. I think that works pretty good. It actually looks like it's balanced pretty well. You see what I mean? And then visually try to balance this line so that it see, you've got plenty of space over here, and this has got plenty of space, so you don't want to cheat on the space. Now the other thing is that line is way too far down, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to wait until it snaps. See how it snaps to the bottom of Excursions?
Yeah.
That I like. So I'm going to let go of that, and now I have my business card. So this is what you're going to do. You don't have to make it look like my card. I'm not expecting you to do that. I'm expecting you to use your own creativity and come up with something nice. Now, the assignment asks for a front and a back. Frankly, I don't care if you do a front and back. What I'm really concerned about, though, is that when I look at your card, I see all the proper techniques employed that we covered tonight in this demonstration, because I think they're clear enough that you shouldn't have any problem with that. Am I right or am I wrong? Is this throwing you off?
No.
One thing I noticed here, I think I got to fix. I don't believe that color is the correct color, and you got to be very careful of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to change that color. See, that's not the right color. That is my color. And I don't know whether I like that color. I think that's too light. So what I think I'll probably do is come over here and I'll probably change it to that color. And I think that's a little bit better. Oh, and this color right there, that's the color that came in with that piece that I dragged in. And that color does not relate. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to delete it. Why? Because I don't want anybody asking me any questions about stray colors. So if you really want to know the truth, what you have here now is a properly laid out, a properly done 3-color project. This is what you want to see. There's one thing more that you have to do, and that's exporting this thing, and we're going to do that shortly. But before we do that, I want to show you how to create some more documents, and I want to show you how to make the envelope and how to do. I'm going to close this. We're done with it. I'm going to show you how to create the 2 other pages that we need. So what I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm going to create a new artboard, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a new artboard. And this one I'm going to call Letterhead, Letterhead. Letterhead. This one here, Artboard 2, I'm going to call that Envelope, Envelope. And I guess this one here, which is our business card, BUSCARD. Okay, so we have business card here, envelope here, letterhead here. The problem is they're all the same size. So what do I want to do? I want to come in here and I want to see if I can change the side of this. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to hit Artboard Options. And on the Artboard Options this is for the envelope. Give me a second. The envelope size, it's written down in the assignment, but I have a box of envelopes sitting right in front of me here. And the width of a box of envelope, or the width of an envelope, is 9.5. So I'm going to change 3.5 to 9.5. And then it's going to be, it's high, it's actually 4.125. 4.125. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, it's a mess, so don't worry about it just yet. So I've got my envelope. So I'm going to go to my letterhead now. I'm going to click on the letterhead, and I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to Artboard Options, a letterhead, and I actually might even have it up here, letter. Width is 11 by 8.5. Height, 8.5 by 11. No, the other way around. 8.5 wide by 11. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to hit OK. Now, watch what happens when I come in here and I go View, Fit All in Window. You see what happens? They're all overlapping each other, and it's a mess. So how do you fix that? There's a couple of ways that you could fix it. You could actually drag and drop these things around if you want. But I think the easiest way to do this is to come up here to the Artboard Options and just go to where it says Rearrange Artboards. Click on that, and you can choose to go in a staggered, or you can go vertically or horizontally, horizontally or vertically. I think what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to do this, and I'm going to change the spacing to, let's say 1.5. Let's actually make it 2 inches, okay? And hit OK, and see what we get. There's your business card. There's your envelope. There's your letterhead. Now, was that hard?
Nope.
Okay, so again, this is probably the way that you're going to want to do it. Now, as far as how a business card, how an envelope and how a letterhead should function, let me show you. I'm going to come in and I'm going to zoom into this corner right here. And then what I'm going to do is move the artboard over, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to show you that if you're doing your envelope, if you're going to do an envelope, what you want for an envelope is just the logo. You just want the logo, and you just want the address. You do not want the phone number, and you do not want this. So here's what I would do with this. Here's how I would handle this. I would click on the Aqua, hold down the Shift key, click on the path, and click on Aqua Excursions. And I would go Edit Copy. And then I would go to my envelope, and I would go Edit Paste. And there I have it. I've pasted this in, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to place this somewhere, in the proper area here. And again, you would come over and you drag your guides out. I'm not going to bother doing that though, because you know to do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to remove a little bit of this text. Again, I don't need. It's going to give me a hard time now. There we go. I want to get that out of here. Delete. Okay. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to make this thing smaller until it comes down to my guide. There would be a guide there for a margin. I'll make it the top of that. So now what I have basically is I have a pretty good envelope. This would work as an envelope. So really, that's what you want to see for an envelope. You want to see a logo, and you want to see an address. And that's it. You don't want to see all this other stuff. There's nothing that's going to bleed on this. Oh, and by the way, a lot of times students have a tendency of wanting to put like gradients or graphics or something up here or along here. I would prefer you just do a plain envelope like you see here, and I'll tell you why. There are postal regulations, and sometimes students do things that they think look real creative, but they will not pass regulations. They will not pass a postal regulation. So I'm not looking for wild, zippy things. I'm looking for production. I'm looking for really good production stuff. That's what I'm concerned about. So if you will be kind enough to give me the good production things, I'll be happy. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Any question about this?
Nope.
All right. So now we go back to our business card again. And here I'm going to once again grab all of this stuff and I'm going to go edit copy. And now this time I'm going to come over to my letterhead and I'm going to go edit paste. And I guess I pasted it. I guess it pasted it on the other board. Let's go edit, undo paste. Let me click in here and go edit paste. Let's see if that does it now. Nope, it's still pasting it up there. It pasted it where? Where did it paste it? Oh, it pasted it there. Okay, so I'm going to just see if I can bring this thing down. Let me do it quickly. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so now it's on the board. There we go. Now, this here, I can actually move this over. And again, when you're doing this, you got to realize this is a letterhead. And what you want is you want something, again, that's very, you don't want to make a whole lot out of this. You probably will get away with more information. Like this information is probably much better suited for this whole bit of information right here. Although this would probably not be rhide at aqua.biz. This would probably be something more generic. Unless this was his personal stationery, then it would be. This would be, like contact at aqua.biz if it were, just a universally used one. Oh, and that logo is going off the edge, so I'm going to have to move it over. I'll get it over to about there. That's probably good. And I'll bring it up just a little bit. And then, of course, what I would do here is I would click on this guy because I don't want it to bleed. I doubt I do. I'm not bleeding it in the others, so why would I bleed it here? So I'm going to bring this down to about the top of the aqua like I did in the others. There. And so if I go view, fit all in window, you have basically a business card, an envelope, and a letterhead. And they look very much like they belong to one another, correct? I mean, do you see how that relates very well to each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
So put that line though on the bottom of the letterhead.
Yeah.
To make it look like the business card.
If you wanted to do it, yes, you could do it on the bottom of the letterhead. But keep in mind one very important thing: letterheads are for communications. That's the most important thing. They should look very corporate. They should look very clean. And a lot of times it's not even necessary to bother to do that. If you did put that on there, I wouldn't object. I wouldn't have a problem. You're the one that's creating it. What I am concerned about, though, is that you use good taste and good graphic thinking. I slapped these three together. I didn't take measurements. I didn't place things well. I just did it as a demonstration. It's fairly close, but it is not exact. And if I were really doing this, I would have margins on every one of those elements there, the envelope and the letterhead. I'd have margins on all three of them, and I'd make sure that they all sit in the same place on each of those elements as much as possible. And I'd make sure that everything's around the same size. That's one of the reasons I actually cut and pasted the logos, because I wanted them to all be relative to one another. So I'm really trying hard to make a very clean, orderly, and consistent look to this. That's basically what corporate identity elements such as this call for. Okay? So what do you guys think? You okay with this?
Oh, yeah.
All right. One more thing. Notice that we have 3 artboards here. 1, 2, 3. So what's going to happen now is I'm getting this ready to send to my printer. I'm going to play printer with you. I'm the printer. So here's the problem. How do you fail? You fail is if you send something to me that I can't print, then you fail. It's as simple as that. If you send something to me that I can print, you pass. I'm not even going to mix words with it. I may critique some of the things that you have on there, but if it's printable, if it's print ready, because that's the whole game here. If it's print ready, I'm going to pass you. If it's not print ready, I'm going to fail you. And I'll tell you why, and then you can fix it and make it, and you'll make it up. You might lose 5 points or something, but I will allow you to go in and fix it. But that's the key here, is that if this were able to go to a printer and the printer could do his job with this, then you've done it right and you pass. I mean, it's so simple, it's almost nuts. So are you good? You ready to go here?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so here we go. This is the final thing for this particular part of the project. File. And we're going to go save. Let's go save as copy. And this is also going to go in tonight. I'm going to call this card, call it card final, F-I-N-A-L, and call this underscore Illustrator, I-L-L-U-S, and then .ai. It's not going to be a .ai. It's going to be a PDF. Okay? So card final Illustrator PDF. Now, obviously, I'm calling it this. You're going to call it, when you submit it to me, you're going to call it whatever it tells you to in your assignment. You got that, right, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now look at what it says down here. See where it says use artboards? What is selected?
All.
Okay, what does all mean?
That means 1 through 3.
Right, it says it right there. So essentially what this is going to do is this is going to generate one singular Adobe PDF file, so that when you send it to me and I go into my place where I do my grading, I can open this up, and instead of having to open 3 separate documents, I open one document and I flip from page to page to page, and I look for what I'm looking for as a printer, and if I'm finding what I'm looking for, I can pass you or fail you, because it's either going to be there or it's not. Makes real sense, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's hit save and let's see what you got to do here. So now I showed you how to go in, and I showed you how to do some settings to create a piece of artwork to go into here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I told you to leave preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. I told you Illustrator default is fine, but in reality, you'd probably want to go to press quality. Just keep that in mind. Illustrator's fine here, though. Now, here's the thing. Over here where it says bleeds and marks. This is critical. This is where you really got to understand. All printers marks. I'm selecting them all. Now, what you really need to submit to me for a spot color job, you don't need color bars. You can click that off. Registration marks. Do you know what registration marks mean? You're going to see.
That would be that black registration.
Yeah, but do you know what a registration mark is and what it does?
No.
Okay, a registration mark is essentially, I'll show it to you in a minute, and I'll explain it to you again when you see it. It's a little circle with a cross to it, almost like a gun sight. And what it does essentially is it prints on every single plate or every single color separation. And what they do is they use those registration marks to separate them and then realign them as plates on a press. And that's the way that the printer sets up your final project to print correctly. What are trim marks? You know what trim marks are? I actually mentioned it a little earlier. You know what trim marks are?
The size of our artboard?
Well, the trim marks actually indicate to the printer the spots that he is going to cut the particular piece out of the background paper. In other words, when you print these things, are on bigger pieces of paper, and there are usually a number of them set up. And those crop marks are what the printer uses to guillotine cut them apart and turn them into the final size of the piece. So they're absolutely essential. Page information is optional. I'm going to leave it alone here. Now look at down here. Use document bleeds. Okay. If you remember, one of the first thing I did in my document was I told you to set up bleed. Remember what I told you to bleed was?
Yes.
0.125.
What does it say right there?
0.125.
Okay, so I did use document bleeds, didn't I?
Yeah.
You saw me do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you got to make sure that that's selected. So now I'm going to hit Save PDF, and it is saving. I think it's actually done already. Let's see if it is. If it's done, I think it is. All right, I'll drop this down, and Card Final Illustrator PDF, and I actually have to open this thing, and I won't pop it open, so I'm going to open this thing, and we're going to take a look at this. Okay, drop it in there, and let's take a look. Okay, so here we go. This is what I'm looking for you to send me. See, there's the information that I left on. Here is your registration marks. Remember I told you the registration marks? Those are your registration marks. That's what I'm looking.
That's what that thing in the palette is for. That color.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they're, but that's a registration mark. And basically, yeah, I know, that's the color that they call
This is the first time I've seen a registration mark, and because I've been curious about why the registration was a different black and when I would ever use it, but I see what
it's automatically applied to those marks.
Right.
Okay, and the key to this whole thing is that the printer needs those registration marks so that when he actually separates this, and what's he going to separate it into? He's going to separate it into the black, that color right there, which is one of the Pantone colors, and that color right there, which is one of the Pantone colors. So what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with 3 different plates. And the one plate will have the blue on it, that dark blue. The other will have that light blue on it, and the other will have all the black. And by registering these together, you know, laying these on top of one another in the proper positioning, then all of this stuff can be printed one color at a time onto the paper, and it'll all sit exactly where it's got to sit. Now, what's really nice about this is you can now come down and you can take a look at your next piece, which is here. There's your envelope, and you can see you got your crop marks here. You've got your registration marks here. And we'll come down, and what I really like is this, because I can open this up, and now I can pop to that one. And there is your letterhead. Now, that is a pass. If I get that from you, you're going to pass. Do you know why? Somebody tell me.
That's, well,
That's all the stuff that you need to print.
What kind of what course is this?
Print production.
Bingo. So what am I looking for?
Ready to go.
Yes. If this doesn't qualify to print, it can't print. It can't be used. It's as simple as, I'm not being mean, I'm not being cruel, I'm not being arbitrary. It is simply stating that if you print this thing, if it's printable, you pass. If you don't, you're not passing. You're going to have to fix it to pass. It's just as simple as that. I'm not saying I'll give you a 0, but I'm going to give you a very low grade if it doesn't work. Because that's what would happen. Literally, the printer would be calling you saying, what are you sending me? I can't use this. And I say this to you because, not for you, Jay and Scott specifically, but I cannot tell you the number of times students have sent me things that are not press ready. And that's what this course is all about. And unfortunately, you know, I have to fail them on it because, you know, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So do you think you guys can handle this?
Yes.
All right, I have a little over a half hour left. So what I want to do now is, this is what you're going to send me, and go through this process, and you'll have no trouble. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come into InDesign, and I've got here in InDesign the beginnings of my project. Here I did a horizontal card, and here I did a vertical card. So in InDesign, basically, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to the File menu, and you're going to go New Document, and you're going to come in here, and you're going to come up, and you're going to do the settings for this. You've got intent in here, print and web or digital printing. You are going to be printing, so you're going to use the print settings, all right?
Okay.
And I'm going to just show you, I'm going to start off by creating just one page on this particular document. And the pages I'm going to look for is the business card. And see, because this is InDesign, this is the thing that you need to understand. InDesign is really a layout program. It's not an art producing program. Illustrator is an art producing program. So in InDesign, they have a little bit more when it comes to shapes of pages in this particular case, because this is what you're supposed to be doing here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use a US business card, and that is going to give me 3.5 by 2. Number of pages 1. If I wanted to, I could actually come in here and I could make that 3. That would be now for my business card, my envelope, and my letter. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you might want to do that. The number of columns, I'm just going to make it 1 column. The margins, remember we talked about margins, right? What's the margin?
That's
The space on the page before the.
Yeah, the space within the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the bleed and the slug, which are right here, all right? Bleed is 0.125 and slug is 0.75. I'll explain slug in a minute. But you know what? I think what I'm going to do for the margins is I'm going to set a smaller margin. First of all, I'm going to link this. This is set for a different thing. So I'm going to click on this, make all the settings the same. And I'm going to change this first setting to 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. And notice that when I click on the next one, they all become 0.125. Okay, so that's 1/8 of an inch margin. That's a small margin. Bleed and slug. I'm going to go with a bleed of 0.125. Why? Well, because bleeds are generally 0.125. Now, what's a slug area? One of the things that you have to understand is that outside the page, you have to allow a certain amount of space for the elements that we're going to be creating, the bleed marks and the printer's marks. So I'm going to bump this up to, I'm going to say 1.25. That's 1 1/4 inch slug, and I'm going to click on that and make sure that the slug area all around the pieces are 1.25 or 1 1/4 inch. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You have any questions about any of this? Because this is what you're going to do.
No.
Okay, you're sure?
Yep.
Hit OK. And now, give it a second. It's going to create that document. I don't know why it's taken so long, but it is. This is, I've been having, I don't know how you guys feel about, there it is. I don't know how you guys feel about Creative Cloud. What do you guys think of Creative Cloud so far?
I haven't done it yet.
Oh, you haven't done it yet. Well, you better do it. Who's that?
Scott.
Oh, Scott. Did I lose, what's his name? What happened to,
Jay?
Yeah, he's gone.
Is he?
I wonder if he got bumped out.
Huh.
All right, well, anyway, so you haven't done it yet. You got to get it done, pal.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so I'm going to come into the view menu, and I'm going to zoom out. Let's see if I can actually see view, zoom out. Let's see if I can see all these things. View, zoom out. Let's see, view, zoom out. Yeah, I'm not seeing them. All right, so let's go over to. Let me come over to my pages. All right, let's go to pages. Okay, so now what I have is I have 3 business cards. Now, what I want, I don't want 3 business cards. What I really want is I want 3 different elements here. I want a business card, I want an envelope, and I want a letterhead. So how do I do that? Well, probably what I would want to do is click on the piece that I want to affect. And then come over here, and you see this page right here, the page tool? Click on the page tool. And I want you to notice what happens to the property bar. See the property bar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look what it says right there. What does it say?
Business card.
Okay, so what do I want it to be, an envelope?
Yep.
So let's see if we can find an envelope in here. And do we see one? No, I do not actually see one. So I'm going to go custom. And what I'm going to do is call this envelope E-N-V-E-L-O-P-E, envelope. And I'm going to make the width of that envelope 9.5, right? 9.5, and the height is going to be 4.125. And then I'm going to hit add and hit OK. And there you go. Look at that. Now I've got, well, actually, it looks like I got the wrong one selected here. So this one becomes my envelope. That one becomes my business card. Or did it switch them all? Don't tell me it switched them all on me. Let me see. Did it?
No.
No, there you go. Okay, so what it did was, I thought I had this one selected. Apparently I did not. Okay, so it's no big deal. There's my envelope. There's my business card. The last one here, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on that again. And this one I'm going to change to a letter. And boom, that should be it. That should do it. We should have a letter now. Let's see. Actually, it looks like what is this doing here? I don't know what that's doing. Let's try it again. I think actually width is, yeah, it's got to be 8.5. It's backwards. Width is 8.5. I don't know why it set it up backwards, and this is supposed to be 11. 11. There we go. And that should do it. Actually, I probably could have just done it by flipping there. So anyway, now I have my business card, my my envelope, and my letterhead. So here's what I'm going to do. Just for the sake of our little demonstration now, I'm going to close this out for a second. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to get my regular old selection tool. I'm going to go File, Place. And so are you okay with this? I mean, what I just showed you, you have any problems or any questions about it?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, good. Again, if you do it in Illustrator, it's fine. If you do it in InDesign, even better. But I'm not a demanding person. Either way, if you do it correctly, you'll show me that you know what the heck's going on. That's what I'm looking for. So the last time I created the card, I used my Aqua Color logo EPS, right? Remember I used that one?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to use my Aqua Logo Final PDF. Let's try that. Let's hit open and give it a second. It'll place it in here. And it looks like it's having its issues. This InDesign has been a problem for me. I don't know. You'll see if it is or it isn't with you. I don't know. It's been a problem with me. There we go. Now it's coming. And there it is. I'm going to place it here. Boom. There we go. Okay. So it looks pretty raw, doesn't it? But if we come up to the view menu and go to display performance, high quality display, I get a pretty good view of what this thing looks like. Okay, so there's my logo. Now let's go to my color panel, my swatches panel, and see what I got here.
Mm-hmm.
See that? It says logo dark and logo light. Now I want you to notice something. Look over here.
Oh,
You see what it says there? CMYK, but look at the little graphic. What is the graphic showing you? You might not have seen the first part of the first part of the demonstration where I was talking about these color chips in Illustrator. Okay, you see that little square with the dot in the middle?
Yep.
That's telling you that that logo dark is a spot color, which is exactly what you want. Now, because you have you got black, which is one of the colors you're going to use. You've got logo dark and you've got logo light, and both of them are spot colors. So this is going to properly produce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly put together something that is similar to the other piece. I'm going to come in, I'm going to drag myself a little shape down the bottom here, make sure I have it set to bleed. I'm going to throw in the dark color, okay? And I may make it a little bit smaller because I think oops, you know what? I did the wrong thing here. I actually forgot to get the tool. Let me get that tool, click it and drag it down a little bit. That's probably good. Bring my logo down. Yeah, bring it down. I want it to be about there, you know. And again, I'm just going to kind of throw this together. I'm not really looking to make this thing super tight. I'm just going to try to show you roughly. Hold down the shift key. I'm going to create a line. I'm just trying to whip this up so that we have something. And I'm going to type, again, probably type my name up here. Jesus, these graphics are huge. All right, let's go. Come on. Let's try WILLIAM SWENEY CEO. There we go. And move this down into position. Probably center it. Probably bring it down like that. It's probably pretty good. Maybe move it over just a bit. There, that's pretty good. And then maybe what I'm going to do is double click on this. Select this guy here, and I may be making that, where are we at? Myriad Pro instead of regular. Let's go Myriad Pro Bold, and let's take this and make that Myriad Pro Italic, if I can get it selected. Boy, this thing is just looks terrible the way this presents itself. I wonder if I can adjust this. Let's go Italic. There. So there I've got my name and my title up there, and obviously I'm going to come in here and I'm going to place my cursor, create a shape like this, something like that, and I'm going to type in, let's go to 10 point on this, let's go to 10 on that, actually let's go to 9, yeah, and we're going to type in Aqua, AQUAEX, whoops, CURSIONS, and then hit enter to the next line. And I'm going to type it 1, 2, 3, NEANYST period, any street, and that's ANYTOWN, comma, any town, NH, and then 07060. Okay, and then below that, if I wanted to, I could put in let's go EMAIL at EMAIL.com. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to do. Let's go back up one line and over and enter, and let's put in 888-8880 0000. That's probably good. And now all I have to do to get this to show is open the box up a little bit. There we go. All right, and it's really not spelled properly, so let me see if I can fix that. Email at email.com. There we go. All right, and now I'm just going to drop this down. All right, I know it looks terrible. I know it looks terrible. I know it looks terrible, but I'm doing this fast. So basically, there you go. So I've whipped up a business card, right?
All right.
All right. So now the envelope. So what are we going to do about the envelope? We're going to click on that, hold down the Shift key, click on that, and click on that. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, though, let me just do this. Let me come in here, and let me just make it as consistent as I can. We'll come in here and go to semi-bold, and I think we used a dark on that. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, just a brief, stop. So let's click on that, and click on that, and go edit copy. All right, and let's go to pages, and let's switch up to this page here, and go edit paste. Boom, and bring this up and place it where it should be, approximately there. Let's get it over a little bit. You get the drill, though, right? You see what I'm doing? Yep. I'm just basically whipping up for you very quickly, and I'm going to have to, I think I could probably just drag that down. I can't I? Yeah. There we go. Okay, and remember what I told you as far as the envelope is concerned, those two lines are unnecessary, so we get rid of them, delete, and then we can just basically take this thing, and we can move that up a little bit, and we can now move this down a little bit until you place it where you think it looks right. I probably place it, I don't know, somewhere like there. I know this doesn't look real good, but again, I'm not really trying to design anything as much as I'm trying to, show you how to quickly do this. Let's go to letterhead, and let's go edit paste. And all of this stuff is actually what we want. So I'm going to try to scroll this up a little bit. Let's see if I can find my scroller here. Yeah, we'll go there. There we go. Oh, bring it up. Bring it up. There we go. And over. All right, that's pretty good. And because this is an envelope, I'm sorry, a letterhead, you're going to want all this stuff on here. Okay, we can keep all this stuff here, so we bring that down to there. All right, so now there we have it. So we basically threw together, this is probably a little high here. So we're going to bring this down about like that, and maybe even bring it over a little bit like that. That's probably a little bit better for a letterhead. Okay, the envelope, I'm guessing the envelope is probably good where it is. Let's see. Yeah, it could probably come down just a touch too. Although, no, you know what? Actually, an envelope, it's fine. You want it to be tight up in the corner. All right, so there's our three pieces. So you think you got the concept of that?
Yep.
Okay, so once you do this, if you take a look, this is important for you to recognize, to understand. You have your purpley colored line. That's your margin. That's what you're looking for to make sure that you don't put any elements closer to the edge than that unless they're going to bleed. And then if they're going to bleed, they're going to go to that red line. So wherever something bleeds, if it just bleeds off the top, it's got to go to that red line. If it's going to bleed all the way around, it's got to go to that red line all the way around. If in the case of my business card, it's going to bleed to the left, to the bottom, and to the right, then it has to do so like that. So you got that?
Yes.
All right, so if you decide to use InDesign, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go File, and you're going to go Export, and you're going to come in here, and you're going to choose, I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to come up, and I'm going to find Tonight. And it's Adobe PDF Print. Now, let me show you something. There's Adobe PDF Interactive, which is not what you want. You want Adobe PDF Print. You got that?
Yep.
Okay, and make sure it's Adobe PDF, because that's what you're submitting, a PDF, either from Illustrator, the way I showed you, or here. Hit Save. All right. Now, everything you're going to basically leave alone. Range All, 2. What is it, 2 here? There's 3. Range All. U.S. Business Card, All Pages. There we go, All Pages. That's what you want. Make sure you do All Pages, okay? I don't know what that 2 is all about, but we'll see how this works. So anyway, high quality print, you can go, let's see if Illustrator defaults in there. It doesn't really have it. So just leave it the way it comes up for now. Here's what you want to do though. You want to come in, you want to make sure that you click on marks and bleeds. All the printer's marks, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want crop marks. You want bleed marks. You want registration marks. You don't want color bars. You know why?
No.
Color bars relate to 4-color process printing. This is not 4-color process printing. This is 3 Pantone or 3 spot colors. So color bars really don't help you here. So
would it hurt you though if you had them?
Yeah, I would rather you don't. I want you to be correct. I want you to do the correct thing. So the correct thing would be not to include them. So I'm really trying to teach you the correct way. The correct way is to print the necessary marks. What's really necessary, crop marks. What's really necessary, bleed marks, registration marks. And page information's optional. I would accept that, not a problem. Now, document bleed settings. Very first thing I did was I set up bleed settings, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you could see them right there. It shows you 1, 2, 5. Now, this may or may not be checked. Make sure that you check this. If you don't check this, what's going to happen? You're not going to get a slug area. And what's going to happen is you're not going to see any of these marks because it will not include the area to give you those marks showing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what you're looking for is when you're getting ready to export this thing, all the printer's marks, excluding the color bars, which are unnecessary. And if you've used your document bleed settings, which I recommend you do, you check that. And to include a slug area, which you did at the beginning, check that. And I'm going to hit export. And it's going to create that document for me. Give it a second. I guess it's done. I can never tell because it doesn't give me a display showing it. I guess that's it. I guess that's it. Untitled. I didn't really name it. So let me open this up and let's see if I'm right. If I click on this, that's one of the other things. You've got to remember to name this, but you can name it after. It doesn't matter. Click on this and drag it in. And I think this is it. Yeah, here we go. Okay, check it out. There's my 3 pages. All right, now remember what happened to me when I created this. I meant to create the business card first and the envelope second, and for some reason, the envelope popped up ahead of the business card. Remember me doing that?
Yep.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. The important thing is there's your envelope. So here you have your, this is these are your crop marks. These are your bleed marks. They don't refer to anything here because nothing's bleeding, but they don't hurt to be there. You can not put them in if you want, but just as lief have you put them in. It doesn't hurt. And those are your registration marks, and there's your page information. So that's what we're looking for. And it's the same thing on your card. Now, this is why you have the bleed mark. Can you see where the bleed mark shows where the bleed goes to?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to notice something. Notice that these lines, these are your actual crop marks. Notice how the crop marks actually enter into the bleed area. And notice that they're specially done with a little white area so that you could actually see it clearly. And even this, where this sort of overlaps into the bleed area, you get this nice little white outline so that it keeps it clean. Now, I also want you to notice that there's a nice space around this thing here. That's my slug area. That's what I asked for a slug area. So each one of these pieces has a nice area out here of slug area. So those are the elements. This is what proper production looks like. This is what I'm looking for. So did I do a good enough job at explaining the whole thing for you?
Yeah.
Think you can handle it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so really, like I say, I'd like to see creatively you do something interesting, but I also want you to keep in mind that, you know, we're talking about identity stuff here, and identity stuff should be clean. That really is the most important thing, is that this should be clean. So don't go nuts. Focus mostly on your production techniques. Make sure that your production techniques are flawless. And I'll tell you why. A printer can't go by half good. A printer has to go by all good. If it's all good, the printer is going to print it. If it's not entirely good, he's going to have to reject it. Because if he doesn't reject it, then it may be on him. He may end up having to pay for it. And these things can cost a lot of money. So they have to be correct. And again, I don't know your impression of this, but I think it's actually pretty simple. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, so that's why it's important to do it. But I think that the key is that you actually watched it, and you can go in and watch the beginning of the other that you missed, and you'll see the whole thing. The question is, do all the other students come in and watch it? Because the ones that are going to send me this without these marks obviously tell me right away that they didn't look at the video. So there it is. I've done it all for you. I hope I did a good enough job for you. I'm through for tonight, and I'll let you go if you don't have any other questions.
No, pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. All
Glad
right.
I made it.
What?
I said I'm glad I made it to class.
Oh, good. I am glad you did too. I'm sorry that you had some trouble with it. I'll see if I can maybe make it a little bit clearer for you. So I'm going to end recording.
Usually when you go to the classes, you just click on the link and it pops right up.
Yeah.
You don't have to add the PMI, which
Yeah.
I didn't know was a personal meeting identification.
Well, some people have trouble and they go in a different way and they have to have the PMI. So that's why I like you to have it so that you know. But if you go in the right way, you should have no trouble getting it open.
I went to the home page.
Okay.
And clicked on the link right there. It says, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard.
Yeah.
And
good. Are you having any trouble at all with any of the other stuff in the course so far? I mean, are you having any trouble with your daily questions? Everything working okay?
Yeah. Well, there's one that was one of the daily questions. It didn't start till like noon.
Yeah,
that day.
I fixed it. I made it. I have to go in and set each one of them by hand, and I made an error on one. So one of the other students told me about that. I went in and fixed it. So sorry.
Yeah, no, I noticed it got fixed. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, listen, thank you for coming, and have a good night. And if you need anything, just give me a call, send me an email, either one. I also, my hours, let's see if I can give you some idea what my hours are. I'm in the Learning Center. Let me see, where's that paper? Oh, it's over here. Hold on. Just as a final note, this week I will be Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not right. That's weeks 3 and 4. Okay, I'm sorry. Thursday, here we go. 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Thursday. Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. And, of course, these are Mountain Time. And Saturday.
To 1 a.m.?
What?
Till 1 a.m.?
9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah, all right.
9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Did I say 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. And that's weeks 1 and 2. Okay, so those are the days. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to talk to me about, even if you just want to show me something, feel free. Okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to stop the meeting now.
All right. Thanks.
There we go.